the matchups for NFL Week 9. This is the Pro Football Bias Plus reports, where we utilize the net points and the turnover differentials in our matchup combinations. The first game on the schedule, this would be tonight, right? Today is Thursday.
Yes, it is.
New York Jets at Indianapolis Colts. Bias plus score 17.6 favors the Indianapolis Colts. Who you got?
Well, the big question was, after the Jets won, could they do it again? Personally, I don't think so. And I've already apologized to Mike White, so I'm not going to put my foot in my mouth and, diss him again. But the Colts lost in overtime to Tennessee last week, and it wasn't pretty at all. So, man, this is actually a tougher game to call than first it seemed.
And let me mention real quick, Benny, one thing that the Jets have is a pretty decent rush.
They have a decent pass rush. They have an excellent running back. The Jets haven't shown anything spectacular on defense as far as being able to really, put up a fight. I don't know what happened to Cincinnati, except that I think that they really just took them lightly. I think they really did. I can't explain it any other way. So I'm going to go with the Colts on this. I'll stick with the bias, go with the Colts. I think Wentz will find a way, along with a good running attack, to take care of business.
Ben's going with the bias and the Colts. Next up, Cleveland Browns at Cincinnati Bengals. The battle for Ohio is on. Bias plus score 7.1 favors the Cincinnati Bengals. With all the drama, with the Odell Beckham drama in Cleveland, can they focus, Benny? Can they focus and deal with this Cincinnati Bengals squad? Who gave up so. You just said gave up a kind of a weird game against the Jets.
Yeah, this is a big time bounce back for the Bengals. They won't get caught with their draws down again like that. They're gonna, and who better to have a bounce back game against but a division rival that most people thought would be ahead of you in the standings by this point. I think that the Bengals are going to smack the Browns around. You're right. The Browns have a lot of stuff going on. The Bengals will have to concentrate on the Browns' running attack. But when it comes to Baker Mayfield and that receiving core, they shouldn't have any trouble at all. I think the Bengals are just better, and they'll have to be careful. The Browns defense, they're not slouches, especially up front. But if they can keep Burrow clean and he can find Jamar, T. Higgins, and Boyd, he's got plenty of weapons, and they can get Mixon untracked a little bit. Even if they have, see, here's a great thing about Mixon. If he doesn't get it going on the ground, guy's got hands and he's got speed. He can get out and become an extra receiver for you. So the Bengals have a lot more going for them than the Browns, not even to mention the controversy and who knows where Baker's head is at. So, yeah, take the Bengals and go with the bias.
Yeah, interesting. Bengals and Cleveland both in terms of points against 23, basically.
Okay.
22.9. So they're right there, 13 and 14, right there with each other. Where the Bengals are better is in the ranking on scoring. They're ranked 14th. Cleveland's ranked 19th. So, and not a big difference there either, only a couple points. So this could be a very interesting game.
Okay.
And going with the bias and the Bengals. Denver Broncos at Dallas Cowboys. Bias plus score 7.4 favors the Dallas Cowboys. Is Dak back or not?
By all indications, Dak will be back. I haven't heard anything to the controversy. I haven't heard anything to the contrary as far as like a setback or anything. I think they've just been having him take it easy and get treatment. So yeah, he should be fine.
All right, there you go. There you go. Next up,
Take the Cowboys. Sorry.
he's taking the Cowboys, going with the bias. Houston Texans at Miami Dolphins. Bias plus score of only 3.3 favors the Miami Dolphins. Bounce back game for Houston, Ben?
I'm so disappointed with the Dolphins. I don't know what to do with myself, man. But the crazy thing is, Tua is playing pretty well. Like, you know, he heard the whispers about Deshaun. He picked up his game. They just can't put an entire game together to get the wins. I'm gonna stick with the Dolphins on this. I'm taking the easy way out and go with the bias.
Both teams are in the negative as far as net points are concerned. Interesting, how close they actually are. Miami is 28 on offense, and Houston's 32nd, and there's really only a 2-point per game differential. So,
but Texans have really been smacked around. They've taken some really crushing losses. Like, I don't know how long they're even going to be able to hold it together, man.
And with the loss of Ingram, also they lose a run. Ingram's so happy to be the hell out of tag. We'll talk about him with the Saints, but it's hilarious. Okay, you're going with the Dolphins and the bias?
Yes, sir.
There we go. We just talked about it. The Atlanta Falcons going to visit New Orleans Saints. Bias plus score 15.2 favors the New Orleans Saints, but that 15.2 bias was built by one Jameis Winston and company. No longer there. Who's quarterbacking for the Saints?
When I was talking about the Saints game, I lost my train of thought there. Taysom Hill is going to probably be the incumbent now, but he got a concussion and did not play last week, which is why they brought in Trevor Siemian. I think as soon as Taysom Hill is okay, they will begin to start him at quarterback, and we'll see. I mean, in some people's minds, that was the move that was supposed to be made at the beginning of the season anyway. Some people think that they were doing Jameis a solid by letting him get one more shot at being a viable NFL quarterback on a decent team with a good coach. Now that he's out for the season and he was working on a one-year deal, some people are saying he probably won't be back with the Saints next year. That remains to be seen, depending on how Taysom Hill takes the team from here on out, okay? That being said, if Taysom Hill is healthy, he will start this game. It'll be interesting. He does bring a running component. The Falcons have been a little up and down, but they haven't gone quietly in their losses, except for last week, which was actually Matt Ryan's worst game. So if Matt Ryan plays well, this is not a gimme for the Saints, who may be coming in with Trevor Siemian on the start or Taysom Hill in his first start in a long time, coming off a concussion. It's in New Orleans. I've noticed a lot of teams that have not been playing well at home have played better on the road.
I noticed that also.
Did you notice that?
Some of the games, especially when looking at, I've noticed. I'll just say I noticed that. Let me also mention real quick, the main difference between these two teams is relative to the defense. I mean, let's face it, the Falcons defense is rated 26 and the New Orleans defense is rated 4.
Yeah, that's pretty much going to be the deciding factor with me. Again, I have to go with the bias and take the Saints. No matter how well Matt Ryan plays, they don't have a dynamic run offense to begin with, and nobody runs on the Saints. So, it would have to be all Matty Ice. And I don't know if he can do it. Ridley's out. Gage isn't playing that well, and people are starting to figure out how to slow Pitts down. Yeah, this one, yeah, I've got to go with the Saints.
The only caveat, this is a division game, right?
Yes, it is.
And it's not that far past Halloween, so strange things could happen, but it would have to be a strange thing. All right. The Raiders at your New York Giants, much less. So they're coming from Vegas. So they're no longer on the coast. So they're coming from Vegas to the East Coast. Visit your Giants. Bias plus score of 8 favors the Las Vegas Raiders. All right. I'll leave it at that. What you got?
You can't help but think, you know, with everything going on in Vegas, how this is going to affect the Raiders as a team. The Gruden thing didn't bother them that much. I didn't see it in their play. And in fact, the coaching has been a lot different with, I think his name is Bashami, whatever the guy's name is that took over as head coach. I like the way he's running that team right now. And the players seem to be thriving. I know they're going to feel bad for their teammate, as well as if they got any hearts at all, which I'm sure all of them do, feel bad for the person who passed away and their family. We'll talk about that incident later, but how it affects the team, I'm not exactly sure, but it might even be good that they're getting out of town. Their offense is still pretty dynamic. Derek Carr is playing extremely well. Nothing seems to faze Derek Carr right now. While we were on a little break, I looked at a video of him at a press conference saying he's going to reach out to Henry Ruggs, that right now he needs somebody to love him, and he's going to do it. He says he's going to prove it to him because he doesn't have to prove it to anybody else. He's my man. He's my friend. You know, Derek Carr is on a mission this year. I don't know if he can drag the whole team with him.
Is vying for sainthood right about now. I've heard him. He was like, I wish I could have been there to help him. I wish he had known that I would have been there to help him. And I'm like, oh, he is great. I mean, gee,
the guy's a great teammate. I believe this. This is not phony stuff.
No, I believe him too.
Yeah, he loves his teammates, and I think they love him. And I think they're going to ride for him. So, unfortunately, it's against my team, but I got to go with the Raiders.
All right, I hear you. There you go. There you go. Ben's going with the bias and the Las Vegas Raiders. All right, here we go. New England Patriots at Carolina Panthers. Bias plus score of 5 favors the Patriots. The young Bulls getting favored now. Hilarious.
Well, I mean,
hilarious.
he's going against Sam Darnold, so that's no big deal. I'm going to go with the bias again and take the Patriots. There's no way there's no way that Belichick doesn't outcoach.
Can you imagine the Belichick book on Sam Darnold?
Oh, exactly. Exactly. Just that little time in with the Jets, he's put in plenty of film study on. Yeah, no doubt about it. Oh my goodness. Oh geez, this one could get ugly.
All right, here we go. Ben's going with the bias and the Patriots. Next up, 32 favors the Buffalo Bills over the Jacksonville Jaguars. All right, what does Jacksonville have to do to win this game? That's the kind of question they ask on TV.
Hijack Buffalo's plane.
They got remember the guy. They got to go hire the guy that. Remember, he's playing at the sprinklers and stuff all in the turf. And the guy's running for the touchdown. He's in there in the control room hitting the buttons, and the stuff is popping up out.
Commercial, wasn't it?
Yeah,
yeah, I remember that. Oh, right, the Buffalo Wild Wings commercial, and everybody's like, ah, and their team starts winning. Yeah, that was crazy.
That's what they need, but stranger things have happened. So, well, who you got?
That'd be an awfully, awfully strange thing. Take the Bills.
Take the Bills. Going with the bias. That's probably the strongest bias plus score of the weekend. Yes, it is. That's the biggest. Okay. Minnesota Vikings at Baltimore Ravens. Ravens coming off a bye, right?
Yes.
Bias plus score 1.7 favors those Ravens. And again, this is why we're doing the averages now, because them coming off a bye, we didn't want to, have the balance of actual points scored to be out of balance in terms of the numbers of games. So we went with averages. I think next year, Ben, we're just going to start out with averages and stick with them through the year and just get used to them.
That's
we can
cool.
always extrapolate the gross numbers, because again, this is these numbers were done through week 8. So if you multiplied it by 8 times, that's almost 2. 8 times 2 is 16. So you're looking at maybe a bias plus score of 16. But again, over an 8-game season, that's not that big a deal. So this could be a very good game. Kirk Cousins now starting to get called out. We're going to talk about it in the comments section of the game, where the article we posted on Ben and Barry on football. So 1.7 favors the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Ravens, mainly because if they weren't coming off of the bye, they had a couple of little shaky games there. I might have had to give more thought to picking the Vikings in a game like that. But coming off the bye, I think whatever ailed them has been fixed. I'm going to give John Harbaugh that much credit, that he's covered up some things and tinkered with a few things, especially on offense. And the Ravens defense has not been great, but I think they're good enough to at least keep Kirk Cousins under control, especially considering that he is the guy that could be sky high one week and throw a complete clunker the next week. So I cannot have any more faith in Kirk Cousins until I see him start to string together a bunch more of those multiple touchdown games. So I'm going to go with the Ravens.
You said 1 week to the next week, and I'm thinking 1 quarter to the next quarter.
It's been that way from time to time also.
Going with the bias and the Ravens. All right, Benny. Next up, the LA Chargers at the Philadelphia Eagles, and the bias plus score skew is in, favoring the Philadelphia Eagles by 2.
All right. Well, this will be the first one I go against the bias, not just because of the skew. Because when you really think about it, after the Eagles showed how well they could run the ball, you have to remember that the Chargers' run defense is down around the bottom of the league. They've had a lot of trouble stopping run offenses. Problem for the Eagles is they're not really a run offense. They just gave the ball to a whole bunch of different guys and put them out there against a high school team called the Detroit Lions. So I'm not giving any credit to that, nor do I think they even have the cojones to come out and attempt to run a strong run game against the Chargers. So I'm going with the Chargers. Justin Herbert bounce back, 3 touchdowns, maybe more.
Ben, questioning the cojones of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, I'm in trouble again now. It's crazy.
Going against the bias, however. All right, there you go. Next up. All right.
Oh, Lord.
Give me Christmas. Green Bay Packers at Kansas City Chiefs. Ben, this was one of the games that I had marked as a potential intriguing game of the week. And I didn't mention any of the other games that I'm looking at, but the Baltimore-Minnesota game, the Philadelphia Chargers game, the Packers game was on there, and there's what's coming up. We haven't talked about it yet. One game that's coming up is still on the list, but everything has changed. AR is not going to be there. He lied. Let me just say it like that. He
He
lied.
lied.
He lied. Okay.
Lied or he
He
deceived.
lied. Okay, I'll say he deceived. He deceived. Yeah. It was deception at the highest order, almost Trump-like in his use of wording.
Nah, he was better than Trump.
Oh, Trump's a very good liar.
No, he's not a very good liar. He lies.
Huh?
He lies to dumb people who just happen to believe him. He's not a good liar.
But he tells the biggest, most bodacious, bold-faced lies.
Yeah.
Then challenges you to refute it. You know what I mean? And it's like, what? So anywho,
he challenges you to refute it while he knows he has the backing of, quote unquote, by him, some of the dumbest people in America. His constituents, his people that back him, he knows those goofballs are going to run interference for him. Get out of here. It was a deception. He's been immunized, as he said in an earlier report, and it flew over some people's heads, did not fly over mine. I wondered real quick why he didn't use the word vaccinated. First, I thought he was just having some wordplay, but then I said, this Aaron Rodgers we're talking about, you know, Mr. Free Spirit, Mr. I'm letting my hair grow long and all that stuff. But anyway.
Jeopardy.
Yeah, all that stuff. He just came out last week and said how much fun he's having and what a great season it is and how him and his teammates are loving each other up and all this stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, you're not vaccinated. Like, that kind of doesn't go with the whole, you know, I'm loving what's going on here and I'm rallying the troops and all that stuff. You got to keep everybody safe, bro. But if he truly believed in whatever process he went through for this immunization, who am I to say? You know what I mean? All I know is
this is the challenge, man. There's no way to scientifically say that what he did helped. Having a strong,
I don't know what he did.
Having a strong immune system is going to help you with any disease, but you know, it doesn't necessarily, because you know, and a number of people that get sick that get COVID just don't get sick. That's the challenge here when you're not vaccinated, is that he would not have even had, and I don't think he even had symptoms as much as the part of the testing protocol picked it up. And that's the one great thing about the NFL is their testing protocol. But the real question right now is Jordan Love, and can he get it done against the Kansas City turnover-prone Chiefs right now?
I think the Chiefs' problems are not going to go away. I think the Packers' defense is going to go in there and handle their business, and they will carry it. Well, first of all, it's going to be Aaron Jones left, Aaron Jones right, Aaron Jones up the middle. They're going to throw it to him short. They're going to
wait. Don't forget the other running back.
I didn't forget. They're going to throw it to him short. They're going to throw it to him long. And when he goes like this, that means he's tired, and he'll come out and get the oxygen tank, and A.J. Dillon's going to go in and play Jerome Bettis Jr. on. Their defense stinks.
Whose defense?
Horrible.
Whose defense?
The Chiefs have no defense whatsoever. There's no O. When I say their defense stinks, just assume I'm talking about the Chiefs. If I just come over and say, "How you doing, Bear?" Their defense stinks. Just assume I'm talking about the Chiefs. That's how bad they are. I'm taking the Packers to win on the road.
The Packers defense is rated 9th, and that's even better than it was last year. So I gotta give it to him. All right, Ben's going with the Pack, the Jordan Love led Green Bay Packers, and going with the bias. All right. Arizona Cardinals at San Francisco 49ers, bias plus score of 15.4 favors the Arizona Cardinals. The question Is Kyler going to play?
Let me ask you a question. Is this the, your first matchup with the Cardinals this season?
No, we played them before, remember?
Right. How bad they beat you?
It was kind of close.
It was a good game, right? I thought I kind of remembered it being a good game.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the thing. I know they're looking at the film and all that. I know they've noticed the changes that the Cardinals have made in their offense, coming into the season. I don't know that they've changed that much between, the season starting and now, except for specific scheme type stuff for their opponents. So if they noticed anything, they should have noticed that you can get to Kyler. Now, I don't know what Bose has been eating, but he needs to be ready for this game. If they can get to Kyler, they can win this game. You can run the ball on the Cardinals. Yes, you can. Jimmy G is at his game manager best right now. Deebo Samuels is this close to breaking every ball that he catches. This is your opportunity. I'm going against the bias, and I'm going with the Niners. Don't blow it.
Oh, that's amazing. When's Kittle coming back? Genie Christmas. Everything changes without Kittle.
I heard that they designated for him to come off of the IR, I think sometime. No. I think they okayed for him to come back to practice. Officially, he's still on IR. But unless something changed in recently. But he is allowed to practice while still being designated as on IR. And then if he gets in a couple of good practices in a row, they'll probably take him off IR and make him active.
So week
10 for sure.
Week 10.
If he don't play this week 10, he'll be starting.
Great. And just to mention, the Niners played Arizona week 5 in a 17-10 loss. Looked like Lance was the quarterback. He had 192 yards passing and 89 yards rushing.
Yeah, 17-10. That means the defense played well against a Cardinals team that's ranked very high in points for. So, okay, let me see. Today's Thursday, right? Yesterday, Kyle Shanahan said he expects George Kittle back for week 9. It would be Kittle's first game back, or first game eligible to return from IR. Yeah, all he's got to do is put in a couple of practices, man. He'll probably have a limited practice.
You think he'll be back for this game then?
Kyle Shanahan said he expects him to play.
And now also Watt is gone, right? He's gone for the Cardinals.
Yeah, he's gone. He's done. He's done. I need a big game from Elijah. I need Kittle just to take a little something away for because Debo gonna get his. Nobody can cover Debo. So Debo's gonna get his. If Kittle can do just enough to allow one of the other receivers to make a big catch or two, you don't need a lot. You know what I mean? Because they'll probably double Debo. Debo's playing nuts right now.
Now, I'm going to say this real quick, and we can talk about it more in depth later if you want to. They ran Garoppolo near the goal line twice, like design run plays.
Did anybody lay a finger on him?
Pardon me?
Did anybody lay a finger on him?
Maybe a finger or two. It worked pretty well. It worked pretty well.
Okay.
I just with our run game and our genius coach, I'm thinking to myself, you should have other run options. If you need Garoppolo and it's a playoff or something like that, that's one thing. But I think we should be able to score from inside the 10 without running Garoppolo, the Mr. Injury prone, Garoppolo, and that just, to me, that's not making sense. And Garoppolo seems to be enjoying, he seems to be relishing.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
It's all of a sudden.
The other teams think the same way you do. That's why it's working. They're like, there's no way they're going to let him run it.
You know what it reminds me, however? Little kids who run across the street and beat the traffic, and they do it once or twice successfully.
That is a great analogy. That's a great analogy. Sometimes they just shoot out there and they're like cool as a mug. Then that one time the guy just brushes them like, oh, that one was close. Then they go a few, and then that last one,
You know?
You got me laughing about kids getting hit by cars. Stop. But I get where you're coming from.
What can I say? All right, so you're going with the Niners and going against the bias. And again, ladies and gentlemen, remember, this is my beloved 49ers. So you know if the bias is against them, the numbers are the numbers. There's no opinion. There's no conjecture. I'm not changing the numbers. I got to live with what it is that we're dealing with here, okay? We don't put these teams in these positions. They put themselves in these positions. And again, the Arizona Cardinals and the Rams look like the leaders for the NFC West. All right, Benny, where are we at here? Looks like the Sunday night game. Looks like the Sunday night game. Tennessee Titans at LA Rams. And yes, this was the other potential intriguing game of the week. 1.8 by a score favors the Rams, and the Titans now do not have Derrick Henry. We have Adrian Peterson coming in. Maybe, I don't know if he's going to get a chance to play in this game. Who you have?
Possibly. They're going to start off with Jeremy McNichols first. They have a couple of other options, but those guys are young and haven't had a lot of playing time. Adrian Peterson did go down there. He had a workout. They liked what they saw. So they're pretty much just trying to get him up to date with the playbook. And then, they'll probably plug him in and see how he does. If McNichols plays relatively well, and remember, McNichols is nowhere near the type of bruising back that Derrick Henry is, but he does run. He's okay, but he's more of a third down back, and he's really good in the passing game. He's got good hands. He's got good speed. So if he can continue to do that, or they expect him to be able to continue to do that, but the running game is lacking, then they will probably use Adrian Peterson as the first, second down back, and then McNichols as the third down back going forward, unless AD breaks out or something, which, if there's anybody close to a Superman, and there's a couple guys out there, he's definitely one of them. I've seen him do amazing things in the past. He's been sitting around working out. Those two things don't go together. He's been working out, staying in shape because he feels like he's still got some juice. So we will see. But in this game, too much offense on the Rams, baby. Way too much offense for them to deal with. The Titans just have to figure out, can they move the ball? Can they throw the ball effectively if the run game doesn't gel? And can they score? The Rams will have no problem putting up points on these guys. I'm taking the Rams. That's an easy one.
All right, taking the Rams. Tennessee's going to have to figure out who they are now without Derrick Henry. That changes your personality, as far as I'm concerned. All right. Monday Night Football. We have the Chicago Bears at the Pittsburgh Steelers. By a split score 7.9 favors those Steelers. That sounds about right. Is Fields ready to go out there and do his thing, man? In Steelers Stadium? Gee, me Christmas, man. It must be fun to be a young guy, and all of a sudden now you're in like a historic stadium like this, going up against the Steelers. It's got to be fun. Got to be fun. He might not have been taken as high in the draft as some people thought, but he's getting his shot now. So what do you got?
Well, this game could actually be somewhat competitive if the head coach lets his staff do the coaching, sits there and doesn't do anything. But chances of that happening is slim to none. He's going to come back. He's going to try to shove himself back into the thick of things just to prove some kind of goofy point. The dude's going to get fired. So I guess he's feeling like, you know what? I might as well. What the hell? The seat can't get any hotter. Everybody hates me now. So, I mean, what the heck? If he sits back and lets them coach and they're successful, win games or not, if Fields plays well, that's success for the Bears because he's their future. So, you can fix the defense and all that, but this guy is it. So we have to at least get him playing well. And part of getting him playing well is to let him run the ball sometimes, not just scramble out of trouble and try to get downfield. They put in actual plays for this guy to run, which the head coach refused to do. And he ran for 103 doggone yards. So play to his strengths. You can make this a bit of a game, but I think the Steelers are going to win this one. Anyway, it's not going to. They're home. They got the right formula. They're getting rid of the ball quick so Ben doesn't take any extra hits. They got a great underneath receiver in Deontay Johnson who can, in fact, take you up top too if they need him to. They also have Claypool, who's really the long ball guy, whose numbers have come down. If you got him in fantasy, I would hang on to him. But right now, his numbers are down because they're just not throwing the deep ball. And then, of course, Najee Harris, who's in the running for Rookie of the Year at the running back. So, yeah, and the defense is playing well. Got to go with the Steelers.
Yeah, the Bears defense is ranked 21. Steelers defense is ranked 7th.
Yeah.
It's not a big point spread between the two, but you're dealing with averages. So, that's how that works out.
Yep.
That, Mr. Dickerson, wraps up the Bias Plus reports for week 9 out of 18 weeks. So after this week is up, we will have officially be through halfway through the schedule, have completed the first half of the schedule. Maybe next week we can do a little retrospective on the first half. I'm gonna look at the Bias Plus reports and see how we did for the first half overall. Last week, I believe we were 67% approximately. So, 9 out of 15 for the bias on week 8. Biggest surprise, again, of that was the Bias Plus Buster of the Week. The Bias Plus Buster of the Week, NFL Week 8, 2021. Congratulations to the New York Jets. Unfavorable Bias Plus score of 25.4 with a +3 net win, giving them a Bias Plus Buster score of 28.4. That would be Mike friggin' White and the New York Jets.
Mike friggin' White.
We got more on Mike White coming up in the next section, which would be the comments section. All right.